Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Moshe Mikanovsky, product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. On today's episode, Moshe and I are happy to speak with entrepreneur and product leader Adir Traitel about his experience with vibe coding tools, including V0, Bolt, and Figma Make. Let's dive in. How you doing, Adir?
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet
you. Nice to meet you. Hey, Moshe.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Adir. Happy New Year's to everyone. We know that we still have some episodes that we didn't release, so they will be in the new year, but we are recording this in the new year. So, it's always a new energy, new guests, new ideas. It's always fun to think about the future, right?
Absolutely. Happy New Year, and excited to continue our series on AI, vibe coding tools.
Amazing. And Adir, you are coming to us from Israel. And tell us about yourself, about your background. We always love to hear first, did you get to product?
So I'm quite old in that domain. I started from my own curiosity about tech. Since I was a child, we had one computer in the neighborhood, and I went to my friend to see what that marvel is. And from that, I eventually manage the projects. So I was a project manager for several companies, big companies in Israel, led e-commerce sites and marketing websites, which I built for over, I think, 300 customers at that time. And then I kind of wanted to expand my knowledge. So I went to do some marketing. I worked in one of the big banks in Israel, in like a major revolution they did in the banking industry here. And that bank led that revolution. And I was there and I learned how marketing in big companies is being done. I led the release of the mobile app, which was the first time the bank sent to production a mobile app. Mm-hmm. So it was quite amazing, even if it was a captured audience. But it was interesting, and in that bank I used, I think, for the first time in the world, as far as I was told, a QR for a marketing campaign. So we published in every branch a big QR code to download our app, and that was the first time, I think, as far as I know, the QR was used for a marketing campaign. Once I understood what I am, it took time because I loved defining products. I had a kind of, you can say, a kind of a startup. I met a Chinese guy online on the internet, and we partnered, and we back in 2005 we created several mobile apps for J2ME, Symbian, and eventually Android and iOS, even a game at that time. And what I did there is I kind of did the product management side of the design and the work, and he was the technical guy behind the development side. So when I reached that level where I started to think, okay, so what is the next step? I started seeing product management positions. Previously, it was product management, but it was in hardware usually.
Right.
So the transition from hardware to software started then. It was, I think, back in 2008, 9, something around that time, maybe 10. And so I got this first job as a product manager. I was an advisor for startups from the US and also from Israel. I helped them improve their retention and conversion, being kind of an external product manager for their company, for a small startup that didn't have that capacity. And then I had the chance to work in an amazing company called Moovit. Moovit is the number one transportation app in the world today. So it helps.
I don't want to interrupt you there, but I do. I just used it when I was on my last trip to Israel. I didn't really like it that much. There was another one that I liked much more, but it's all a matter of
It's okay. I'm not there anymore.
He's
You're
not
not
there
there
anymore. That's what I was
anymore.
going to say. He's not there anymore.
So I worked for the first 2 years. I built a carpool service inside Moovit as an internal startup. It was I led it as a product internally, kind of a startup inside a startup, which was an amazing experience. And then in the next second years, I was there for 4 years. I was responsible for the mobile app itself, and had the chance to touch a lot of millions of people around the world, improve accessibility, for example, which allowed visually impaired people to use the app and go around from their home to work, which is an amazing experience. Got a lot of feedback about that. Of course, it was not just me. A lot of people worked on that, but so it was an amazing experience. And then eventually I moved on to VP position in several other companies, startups. I worked in a company called AgTech, which is an AgTech company that dealt with agronomic experiments on the field and served the agronomists, served big companies. I built the entire team, the entire product line. And then eventually after that, I went to Captain Credit, which is the parallel to Credit Karma in the US. But it's locally, it's a different market. It's a mobile app that allows you to see your credit score. So I managed that for almost 2 years until last February, and then decided to pursue my dream and build a startup and go to this adventure, high risk adventure, I have to say, of building a startup.
We always hear from different guests how they got to product, and there is never a linear way to get there.
I love the mobile side of things too. Like you have a lot of mobile experience in there.
Yeah. And the nice thing, I mean, we are talking with people with a lot of experience. So definitely with someone like you and most of our guests, there was not a linear direction to product management. I wonder, if we start talking with a younger audience, or in 10 years when we get people on the show, what will be their way to product management? But that's just a side note for me. So now you have your own startup, and I think that from what I've seen and what we talked before, you are building different products. You're not yet, or correct me if I'm wrong there, you're not yet nailed down on the specific big thing that will make your startup, a unicorn or whatever it is. I don't know if that's your ambition or not, but in general, you are building different products, and you are using a lot of vibe coding for that, and that's really why we felt you're a great guest for us today to speak about some of those vibe coding systems. Some of them that we already talked about, but some that we didn't talk about yet with other guests. So tell us a bit more about that. Why did you decide to go with vibe coding? What are you building with that? And then eventually in the discussion, we'll get into some of the tools that you're using.
Definitely. So back in November 2024, of course, at that time, V0 came out to market and Cursor came out to market, and it was a marvel. For me as a product manager, when you need to, let's say your dream is when you're not a technical product manager, is to build your own products. I see product management as kind of an artist in some way, because our applause is the numbers that we look at, and eventually, and how many users are using it, and how well it is, and how much how much money is going into the company because of that, because of the product. So you're planning something that is amorphic, okay, and it's sometimes hard to convey what you want to do. But when you have a tool that you can build upon your dreams, you can describe to it what you want, and it creates in some way that vision. That's amazing. So I got a chance to be one of the first users, I think, to use V0 cursor when it was terrible. Base 44 was one of the first, I think, 200 users. I talked and met Maor many times and participated in hackathons he did at the time, and still use it occasionally when I need. And I used a lot of the tools because I'm kind of an early adopter in my character. So every time there is a new tool, I have to play with it. And usually I have the same pattern and way I measure. I have the first hook. It's like I'm trying something. If it seems okay, then I continue to the next step.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
a
give
lot of the
up
reason
on
why we
tools.
started the show, though. Like Moshe and I are both that way. Like we start to use the tools, and there's so many out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
the
I'm also
number of
I give it a hook, and if I don't like the response, I'm like, this is garbage. I don't like this.
Yeah.
the number of tools I tried is I even forgot a lot of them by name. So I tried everything. I think that I know about. Um,
Mhm.
so that's my angle about that, and also when Figma Make went to market, I actually I got it, I think, in a kind of a beta testing version. At first, I was so impressed about it when I tried it, and I had a chance to play with really early stage steps of stages of those products. So some of the experience probably have changed, but there is something, as a product, you recognize the way a company or a product try to solve your question, your problem. So it's different a little bit between each solution.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
true. And I've been using Figma Make it where I'm at now, but we also use Lovable. So I'm sure you've used Lovable in some.
Actually, yeah, I'm such a fan of Lovable, apparently, because it's not my first tool, but I got to the first 1% global in usage in Lovable. I don't know if
Very nice.
it seems weird to me because I'm not even in the top tier packages, but I got to the 1% globally in that aspect. So
Power
yes,
user.
I guess I'm a pirate.
So they did also a year wrap, like gazillion of other tools. In 2025, they decided that they're going to copy Spotify and do year wrap.
Yeah.
I was like in the last 2 weeks of, I was rolling my head every time that I saw another one coming up with a year wrap. But that's just a side note here. So you tried a lot of those products. Tell us briefly what are some of the before we get to those tools, what are some of the if you want to share, some of the products that you built with it, and some products could be very I don't want to say generic, but the technology behind them is not new. It's just developing a database, developing interfaces, etc. It's more the new thing or the novelty there, maybe with the idea itself, the business idea, or with the users and stuff like that. Some products have also heavy technology that might be hard to do with this type of product. So I'm just curious about that also. Where does your products falls in that range?
Since I'm not a tech guy, I don't have a development background, but I can see and read. I can read code and I can understand logic. I think I was actually able to achieve much more than I thought I was possibly capable of doing. Okay. I even did migration of database between Lovable and Superbase, it's external. I had lots. I dealt with a lot of backend environment, CI/CD environment, which I built for my projects. I have lots of got into that because if you want to go to production, you need to have a sustainable environment. So I learned along the way. I made a lot of mistakes. I wasted a lot of money and tokens along the way. But if I can categorize, let's say, AI assisted tools, I have kind of three layers, three different types. So I have the AI assistant tools like Cursor and Anti-Gravity and those IDEs that have AI in them, GitHub Copilot, etc. You have the kind of as we said, the Android and the iPhone type. You have the base 44 lovable type, Bolt, and also Replit type, which they give you not just the agents, they give you backend, and they kind of try to close you in their solution. So it's kind of hard to move from them outside, but they give you the fast route to production. Let's call it this way. And then you have more tools that are suitable more for prototypes or front-end work. Okay, kind of Figma Make and tools similar VFS, which is in between, because VFS is V0. Sorry, V0 is in between Lovable and Figma Make in my point of view, in regards to how much freedom you have to then take your project outside and build it with the developer. So that's how I define the different products and the different categories.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So to try to summarize that, it's the AI assistant tools are tools like what?
Like Cursor and Anti-Gravity, and
I see.
of
Okay.
course Cloud Code, which is the top tier in that aspect. All those that are aimed more for developers.
Yeah, that's what
In
I'm
that
seeing.
aspect.
Okay.
Yeah, in that aspect. And then you have something that is more for the general public, which is all those, it's kind of the middle tier, which is Base, Lovable, Bolt, Replit, etc.
Okay.
And there are those who are in the layer of let's mock up front end, or not so strong in backend. It's in that
So
aspect.
V0 is closer to
It's in between, kind of sit on. Yeah.
I see. Now, Lovable, one of the things when I looked at Lovable that I didn't like personally was that I had to do also a backend account with Supabase because
You're not.
it didn't handle the backend. Is that changed now?
You could always do the front end in Lovable and then extract it to your solution and then choose your own backend. But what they did in the last, I think it was 2 months ago or 3 months ago, they did what a lot of other companies or products in the same aspect are doing, is they connected themselves to Supabase.
I see.
So now, because they have access, they control, they have the development key and all the secrets they need, they can control and build the entire backend directly from Lovable. The downside of that is the limitation, of course, but you can do a migration outside. That's what I did in one of my products, but it's a pain.
Yeah.
What I'm working on right now is I'm doing Lovable and then working with GitHub in the middle. So put it in a repo and then bring it over to Replit. So we keep talking about this. These tools like Lovable can do 80% of the work, but they're not quite going to get you to production. So I'm trying to bridge that gap with like Cursor, Replit, some of these more developer-centric tools. And I'm trying to bridge that gap with like a GitHub.
I still think that product managers don't need to go to production. Maybe for an MVP, etc., but it's not really a production grade product.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, a system that can have everything in one, like Base 44, and you don't have to have additional licenses with a third party like Supabase, has more appeal to me, right? And that's what I didn't like about Lovable, that on top of having a lovable account, I have to open a Supabase account and I have to connect them together with APIs, etc. And I couldn't just out of the box do my work. But it is, I think it is a personal preference most of the time.
I think the question is more even. I think that it's not. There is also the personal preferences, of course, and what you like and what works best for you. But I think that the question is in which ecosystem are you working? Because if let's say that you're a product manager in an enterprise and you want to do a demo for your team to develop, you don't have to have even a backend. You have to create a mock-up, front-end mock-up for that with fixed data. So it depends on what you need. If you want to go to production, to something that, let's say that you need an internal SaaS app, okay, for your, let's say, CRM or something, then building that in base will probably be the best option.
I think that I tend to agree with you, but I think that even for an internal demo for developers, when we work with fixed data or with invented data, whatever that is, it's usually doesn't catch a lot of the edge cases. And if we do the same effort and doing it with a real database, because now with these tools, it's really the same effort to do it whether I have a real database in the backend or not. So why not do the same? I think it's the same effort. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong there, because at the end of the day, it's all about prompts and ability to tell it what I want it to do.
Yeah, I'll give you an answer of a product manager. It depends. I can say that base, and I'm updated with their last releases. They've made a lot of improvements, which is impressive. Kudos to them, about that. They recently they add a major difference, which allows you to take your project entirely to GitHub and continue working it with Cloud Code, and you can bring. I'm not sure if it's in production yet, but I know it's in their plan to bring your own database, so you can. They're more versatile now than they were in the past. But that was a necessity. Mao wanted to bring something else. He wanted to bring that black box, easy to use solution. Without worrying about database structure and about the RLS, and all those security issues. So he wanted to bring that really good, and now they're opening more capabilities to allow different scenario, different use cases.
Yeah. You mentioned Claude Code in there as well. I think that's what I'm trying to get at, because you see on LinkedIn a lot doing the lovable and coming up with the prototype, but it's like there's a lot of like Claude Code out there. Like, hey, do you need to understand like how it goes to production? So I guess there's a bit of an argument in the product management space right now about where do we need to place our focus on?
Yeah,
definitely. I can say that the product management position is changing in front of our eyes dramatically. I see a lot of developers and team leaders that are taking the role of both product and tech, and product managers taking the role of a lot of sides of the tech. Things that we used to delegate now are under us. So it's changing. I think. But what I understood, by the way, recently is that there is one thing that makes product management sustainable over time. Everybody worried about their position and stuff like that. I can say that what I see is that the product decisions, the business is number one still before, but now even more, because the tech is not a barrier anymore.
Yeah.
So bringing that knowledge, into the tools, that's imperative.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts about that, but I don't want to go in too much in length there, because we still want to talk about those products that we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
But in general, just to what you said, it's really about first principles of what is the role of a product manager and what is the triad in the team, and do we still need that triad, and do we need to have some type of ownership for different things in our roles. And I still think that the way Marty Kagan put it together, that we own the value and viability, is still exactly that. Whatever we can do with our tools that we have to define, to make sure that we create the most value with our products to our users and that it's viable to our organizations. And what if that means creating our own prototypes to test things earlier into discovery without the need for developers, expensive time to help us with that, then why not, right? And the second thought that I have is that it's still an emerging technology and it's still people are trying to figure it out. And the way we define our segment of users for our products, people like Mao from Base 44 and all the other companies, they have to define their own segments of who is the right users for their product. And I think they found out over time that we are saying that they are not production ready. And they're trying to make it production ready to make it like fit in a much larger segment than what it is. But time will tell only how that will work. Let's move into the tools themselves, because we already talked in previous episodes about Base 44 and Lovable. You also have experience with others, which is great because I would love to hear also pros and cons for each one of them. But let's start maybe with V0 and with Bolt. Which one do you want to start with? Like, how do you differ them from others? What's strong about them?
So V0 was the first tool I actually used, I think. If I remember correctly, or it was Cursor. So it's both of them was one of the first. And what I experienced in that time is that the V0, because it's also under Vercel and it's connected and it's kind of an ecosystem, it was the easiest way to reach something, at that time, when building products was only open for developers. So the first product I built with the V0 was actually, there is kind of a reform in electricity here in Israel, and there is, if you pass to a different company, you have a kind of a discount and stuff like that. So what I wanted to do is to analyze my consumption. So I built, and it's not easy here in Israel. So you need to download the CSV, and then you need to analyze it in Excel and stuff like that. It took me 5 hours. I built with the V0 kind of a landing page where you upload the CSV. It forces it, kind of takes the data out of it, analyze it, and build you a nice dashboard with insights on your consumption. And that was back in a year and a little bit ago. And I was overwhelmed. I said, I built something, not just planned it, not just mocked it.
It actually works.
I actually built something, and people used it, and it was really nice. Actually, my first ideation process started from that, because I thought about going into electricity management, but I withdrew from that after 3 months of ideation. And then along the way, I played with V0 several times, not as deep as I played with other tools, and it is kind of similar, in my opinion, to Lovable in the experience. Good UI, it results in good UI. You can get a really nice UI front end very fast. In regards to backend and infrastructure is a little bit different. I didn't go that deep in, but it was when I start a project, I always open like 3-4 tools. I put the initial prompt in them, if I have files, etc., and then I fire that, and see who brings me the best result, and then I take it from that. So, if I didn't use it in that time, in some way, it lost me, as a client. But it was, I think, in more advanced products than just building a website. And for me, by the way, it's still Lovable, even though I use it really a lot. It's for first websites, and then if you want better products, let's say you need something else, in my
When you're
opinion.
saying websites, I know some people, it might be obvious to them, but as product managers, usually I refer to website as a marketing website. So like
Yeah,
here is a public
not just.
website. Here is a public
Yeah,
website with data in it, but it's not dynamic or there is no users management and there is no solution to a specific problem usually.
not exactly, because in
Okay.
Lovable, because of that integration to Superbase, and it has control over Superbase in that aspect over the project,
Right. So it does
you
have a
can build a
backend.
CMS. I just took one of the tests I did is I gave Lovable a website of a friend of mine. I said, just redesign it, bring it, build it
Mm.
from scratch. And then eventually it did an amazing job. And eventually what I did is I said, okay, so now build a CMS for it. I want to manage every part of the project. And it built an amazing CMS.
So what do you mean
Um,
when you say website?
I'm talking about not logical.
Like a landing
It doesn't
page.
include logical product, API, complex APIs, AI, stuff that are making the product more complex. It's not kind of a. I think that if you want to build a CRM, you probably can, but is it the best tool for a CRM? I'm not so sure.
Okay.
It will take you a lot of time if you go to Base, for example, and say to him, build me a CRM, it will be much easier. Okay.
Mhm.
If you want an AI and agents and stuff like that, it's possible. I built something with AI and agents in Lovable. They actually, it's a new addition in Lovable I think in the last 2 months that they can allow you to develop to create an agent inside the solution, but it's not as good as other tools
Yeah.
in that aspect.
So you talked about V0, and then the another one you also tried was Bolt. So tell us
I
about.
tried Bolt and Replit also.
Okay, so tell us about those.
So Bolt is kind of my it's kind of my test product, because it never got me to product, not even close to production. It can create a decent user experience, but I reached a level where it's struggling, lose context a lot of times, compared to other tools, of course. So if, for example, I had cases where I put the same prompt in all those tools and I got nothing from Bolt, like still working and stuff like that. Something that is not even you can't even call it a UI.
Yeah.
And from other tools, I got a system. Yeah, kind of.
What happened to me? That's what happened to me with Lovable, and that's why I dropped Lovable. But
I think I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's the tools. I think it's more us and our attitude and how we write the
probably,
prompts.
probably, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Because at
Yeah,
the end
no.
of the day, their success is about retention of users,
Hmm.
or even being able to convert those users. And if they cannot convert, then it's their problem, not mine. Especially now that there are so many products out there already that we have a
Easy to
choice to
switch.
pick.
Yep.
You see that in the numbers. You see that in the numbers. They started strong, but now they are declining. So you see the difference between base, which I think grew in the past few months since they were acquired by Wix, by 900% or something crazy like that in user base, even much more. I don't remember the actual numbers, but it's amazing growth, and compared to the others, which are kind of declining since then.
Yeah.
So especially, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, Bolt and Replit and the others. And I see that, by the way, that you can see that through the campaigns they invest. If a company invests so much money in campaigns, you understand that they are in trouble.
Yeah.
And Bolt, I have to say that in the industry, between my friends and the groups I'm part of, I don't hear about it anymore. It's like it's not the go-to to anything. Replit is much more, by the way, and I have an issue with Replit.
Oh, I'd love to
Yeah,
hear it because that's something I use myself.
yeah. Let's talk about Replit. And you mentioned to us an issue that you have before the show. But before we get to the issue, because it's more of a commercial issue, how is the product itself?
So Replit is much better. It's stronger than Lovable, by the way, from capabilities perspective and features. You can add agents, you can manage backend capabilities. The agent is better in some way. Design wise, if you want to design, if you want like high-end design, it's not the tool. It's less. I like Lovable better, and I like other tools. Figma Make much better in that aspect. It depends on the products. If it's mobile or if it's SaaS products, it's a little bit different. Figma Make, by the way, works better for SaaS apps because of it has probably a better library of components in that aspect. But Replit is it's kind of a hog in costs. So you
Yeah,
need to be
tell us a bit
very
about
careful.
that. Tell us a bit about that because you mentioned that you created a bit of a buzz with a post that you had about it on Reddit.
Mhm.
So let me take a little bit step back and tell you what I did in Replit so you'll understand the scope. Actually, my startup, the startup I worked on for let's say from February until recently, I did the entire front end in Replit. Okay, and I did kind of a mock-up, focused on mostly on the front end. So this is how I trusted it because it created a really good understanding of what I wanted in regards to the product. It's a very complex product, not a complex product, but have a lot of components and elements. It was an AI native product. So I went to Replit about that, and I used a lot of tokens there. And one of the things that I did is I tried another project lately. In the past, I think it was kind of 3 weeks ago or a month ago. I had this idea of something I built, started building, and I wanted to see how Replit will kind of give its own angle on what I'm asking. Because sometimes I get ideas for the UI for maybe features and stuff like that. So I wanted to publish it. Once I reached a certain level, it was not for publication. It was just for my other AI to scan it, to be able to understand logic and everything, complex situation. But I wanted to publish it, and when I went through the process of moving it to production, which was the first time I did that in Replit, because all the other times I just used the front end from GitHub. We just took the components and stuff like that. But it was the first time I wanted to publish a product through Replit, and I went through the menus and I saw that there is kind of a hidden menu. It's a kind of a menu entry when you want to publish, where of course the publish button is very strong. And once I tap it, I saw all the backend default, let's say, parameters. And since it opened such a huge menu with a lot of moving parts in it, I started drilling in, to understand what it means. And what I saw is the default was a much more, let's say, 4 or even 10 times stronger server than I needed. Okay, from the default, you need to start with something very simple. I have no users. It's the first time I'm publishing a product in that aspect. And the cost was between $1 to $3 per minute by default. That was the default setting. It was a 4 gigabyte, 4 CPUs, and 8 gigabyte RAM, which is a very strong server to anyone who understands backend for something that is immature. And it was $1 to $3, which means that if the server works all the time, then you spend up to $3 a minute,
Even if
which
no
is
one is
crazy.
actually using the product.
Yeah, if you have an API that I don't know scans Reddit for news, whatever, okay, and it works every minute, then you can pay up to $3 a minute. And when I calculated that, it reaches $2,000 a month just for an app with no users, which
So
is crazy.
So they're basically creating those defaults, and most of the users that are using this are not technical
Exactly.
because we are, finding the joy of building products ourselves without technical people, like we discussed in the last 40 minutes or so. Uh, and that is a bit of concerning.
Exactly. So that's what I thought. If I see myself as a little bit more advanced than the average Joe. Okay, like if you are not a technical guy and you got there, you have no clue what they set you up for, and then you can get a bill for something that you did for your family, for a hobby or for whatever. If you wanted a stock app for yourself, something that finds information about your stocks in the market. That
Mhm.
will kill you in regards to
Yeah.
cost wise.
Yeah.
And by the way, it connects to their entire model because you pay a subscription, but then if you go above the credit, they bill you automatically above the credit. And instead of saying to you, you should upgrade your package or you should buy more tokens to continue, which is more fair. It's a policy, I think, and I have to say that's concerning to say the
Yeah.
least.
It also brings an interesting question about the pricing for all of those products. From what you have found, is the pricing based on tokens that you're buying and using to create the product, or the pricing is also based on if you host your product, your production product on their environment, they charge you for that, or it's combination of both?
Eventually, it's a combination of both, and it depends on the scale of your app. If you have no users, you will pay. You can get in Supabase, for example, a free account. And if you have Lovable and you work with Supabase, you'll pay nothing other than the 20 basic dollars.
Hmm.
And if you stop using Lovable, you'll continue. You'll see your app in production. You'll pay nothing for that. It doesn't cost anything.
Hmm.
But you're at risk because Supabase doesn't keep the server all the time if there is no activity. You need to go into details. It's not on
Exactly. And
on
that's
one phone.
Not
exactly.
easy.
And maybe, I
Yeah,
mean, it's definitely not the scope of our podcast here to go into details,
yeah.
but what you just told us, the story about these defaults at Replit and how the pricing is, should be, not a warning sign, but should be something that people should take into account when they look into this thing and say, okay, what's the cost that is going to be for us to actually use that? Not just to develop the product with those tokens, but to actually use the product. We had a similar discussion in the past when we talked about no-code platforms, because that's also where they get you, the no-code platforms, before the tokens, because it was before Gen AI was created. You could still create with no-code products, and there was that issue of, how much would it cost in production, right?
Right.
There are
Um,
alternatives.
I
So once you advance, if you go from the, let's say, the demo, the production level, you want to just launch, then read the fine prints, but launch. But if once you go and you got traction and you got users, consider to do a deep analysis on your system and maybe migrate it to different solutions.
Yeah, and as you're evaluating these tools, be mindful of your tokens and your usage. Like how many tokens are you using up? Because Moshe and I have talked about this, like using various tools. You ask it, you do a prompt, and it says, "Hey, yeah, I see the problem. I fixed it. That's a token. It actually did not fix it."
Yeah.
You ask it again, "Hey, you didn't do this. Do it again." It's like, "Oh yeah, I see the problem. I'll do it again," and it still doesn't fix it. And so before you know it, you use all your tokens. It becomes that frustration, kind of going back to what Moshe said about adoption. I get frustrated with various tools, and I just move on to other ones. So
yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Also, it's in a matter of context, how big context window you have. So you
Yeah.
need to manage the tokens. It's a major issue. We can talk about it
Yeah.
another hour about managing tokens.
Yeah.
Uh, but if somebody wants to play with things, my suggestion is open three, four of them. Just
Yeah.
try it out and then see what's best for you.
And maybe that's the bottom line of this discussion, really, that it's still in flux. There is still a lot of stuff going on. They are changing rapidly all the time. I'm sure even now, if I will test things that I tested before, it will work differently. Maybe maybe my last question, I'm not sure, because I always have more, but if you would have to put a dream product, from all of those together and say, if I could take this from this product and this from this product, what will be the best things in each one of them that will make that dream product for you?
I have to say that the closest one I use today, and it will probably come in surprise, is anti-gravity, which it's an advancement compared to the others, even compared to the cursor I know, which is a few months ago. Everything changes so fast. But I think that there is one thing that you see, that there is only one tool that does that, but you need to refine it and build it. It's the multi-agent environment. And I think that is lacking now. There was one product, which I don't remember its name, that tried to do something like that. It was not really working. I think it's called Rax or something like that, RAX or something, or Rex. They tried to simulate a development team, which was amazing concept.
Mhm.
They had the product, but it didn't work in real time, and it was kind of more demo than actually working. But today, I think it's possible. You see, Cloud Code is doing that. But if those tools, anti-gravity, base, all of them, Lovable, can implement that by default, that will be a game changer. And also, there are when you go to production, there are a lot of layers that people forget, which Moshe will probably you'll probably find it correct, is security, privacy, QA automation, CI/CD processes. You don't want to do currently base, for example, or any other tool. You work on production, which is crazy if you think about it. If I have a website and I want to fix it, I kind of work on production because it's the same database, it's the same environment. If I fix something, or if I ruin something, or if the AI is ruining something, it's not me, it's the AI. Then eventually, it can go to production. It's very hard to go back. And that's something that needs to improve dramatically, because I think that the structure of a development team is a good structure. You have a product, you have a Scrum Master, you have the architect, etc. If you have those agents for every developer, for every development, for every project, and everybody has its own part, and they talk to each other, okay, they have like a kind of a workflow in that team. I guess the products that will be developed in those tools will be much ready for production level. But I think that will be the next step, because OpenAI just approved the skills, which Anthropic, they're using it as a kind of a standard in the industry. So everybody agreed that skills are standard in this industry. Agents, of course, agent-to-agent conversation should be in that, and I think we'll reach there in less than a year. I think we'll be in that situation.
So I'm not sure you answer my question, but you answer it in a different way, because you mentioned all the things probably that are still lacking in this ecosystem of systems, and to improve, they will have to include all of that. You mentioned security and privacy. I believe that Base 44 are doing quite a bit on that. How are the others compared to that?
They are doing, but they are doing a lot of work in that aspect. But because they are kind of a closed environment, okay, it's easier for them.
Yes, that's true.
It's easier for them. Lovable gives you a security review. It's nice. It's not the best.
Mhm.
And I know that also Bolt and Replit gives you security review. What I love about Lovable in that aspect, that every fix that you need to do in the security review is free of charge. One tip I can give, do it in the last step.
Right. I see. Where
Go.
with maybe with base 44, it's not free of charge. They still use a token for that. Okay,
As
no,
far as I saw it, it didn't
yeah.
it didn't charge me for fixing that.
Now, you also mentioned anti-gravity, so maybe that
Yeah.
will be my last question, but probably not.
I'm
Like,
here.
what can you tell us a bit? Because I didn't use it, so I'm not sure what it is. Can you tell us a bit what is anti-gravity and how it differs from the other tools?
So anti-gravity was launched when Gemini 3 was launched. I played with Gemini 3 when it was released. I loved a lot of things about it. I actually won a competition building a demo using Gemini 3, startup competition, which was nice. I built something in 3 hours. Um, and when anti-gravity went to market, it is a parallel to Cursor. Okay, it's the same idea, the same concept, but first of all, it's free. So it's part of it's not 100% free. It's kind of under your Google One
Yeah.
package. And if
That's
you have like a 5 TB Pro package, then you're unlimited. I work a lot with it, and most of my current apps I build them with anti-gravity. The most amazing part of it is the usage of a browser. So it's not just building apps, it's also debugging them live. You can see them. It opens the browser, it runs on the app, it tests UI. So it's a really good part of it. It sits on top of the Google ecosystem.
mhm.
It's very easy to incorporate Google tools and capabilities inside of it,
Mm.
even though it has some gaps. It remembers until 2023. So if you want to integrate an agent, you need to tell it use an API, use Gemini 3, not 1.5.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So in
I
that
started using
aspect,
it. Yeah.
yeah, in that aspect, it can get wrong, but I find it really, really awesome. So
Yeah.
what I use usually now is mostly anti-gravity and a Cloud Code to review the code and do the testing that I need and etc. By the way, in anti-gravity, you can use both Gemini but also Claude. So using Opus was released in anti-gravity for free as part of the package, which is awesome because Cloud Code costs a lot of money if you use it
Yep.
a lot. So to get a little bit more credit in Gemini, that's in anti-gravity, that's a
Some
free
some people are
freebie.
making the prediction that Google could buy Claude or Anthropic in
I
2026. So
wish.
yeah, because the to your point, and I'm glad you mentioned anti-gravity. I'm using Gemini 3. I love Notebook LM. That's like I love Notebook LM. I talk about it all the time. But like I'm using more and more Google products, and because it's an ecosystem in itself, I think I think they'll wind up probably being the biggest player here because they integrate so well with all the different tools, and because they're so big, a lot of it's free. So to your point again, um, because what I'm struggling with right now is there's so many different tools, like Lovable, Replit. I'm using all these various tools, but I think if Google plays their cards right, then they can become the default that kind of does a lot of it. Yeah.
I want to add to that for another tool for your audience. You have Google's alternative to Figma. It's amazing. I
But
forgot the name slipped my mind. It's Stitch. It's called Google Stitch.
Google Stitch.
It's amazing, amazing.
All right, I'm gonna add
You,
that to my.
it's an amazing tool, and what is the benefit in working with Google is that it integrates with other tools. So to export UI elements is so easy.
This
It's
is
so easy.
really helpful. Okay. Yeah, because I'm using Figma and look at Figma Make, but then going to Lovable with it. And then, it's, and then I downloaded Cursor and I'm like, I got too many tools. So like you're opening my eyes to something new. Again, to our point, I think the ecosystem, Google is,
Are you referring to Stitch or
Stitch,
to
yeah.
Stitch?
Google
Yeah,
Stitch, yeah.
Stitch.
By the way, I have in the developers in Google, you have like they have a testing ground. They issue a lot of tools, marketing tools, amazing tools, and Stitch is one of them. I did an entire design for a mobile app, which amazed me in the high quality it produced. It has mistakes; it's not perfect, but
Mm.
the level of details and even innovation that it brings to the design, I was overwhelmed, and I'm building mobile products for years. Okay, I think half of my career was working with designers in the mobile app industry.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, it's such a good tool, and if they'll continue to improve it, it will kill Figma.
Amazing.
well,
Interesting.
hopefully Google doesn't close down some of their apps like they're known for over time. You know how they like to spin stuff up and close them down, like
I think
Google
they have
Analytics.
good. I think they have good reasons for that, but they can also
Yeah,
afford it more than others.
yeah, for sure.
Um, I did try Google Firebase Studio.
Mm.
So, and I tried it as a vibe coding product when I tried Lovable in Base 44, and it was also quite
No,
meh.
it's not. It's not. They did it just to put a V on it. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
But
But
but but if you work in Google, for example, with the anti-gravity, and you want to integrate Firebase as a database, it's easy.
hmm, hmm,
Easy. I hate setting up databases. Okay, and Firebase, it's such easy. It's so much easy in anti-gravity.
hmm,
There is no other tool that brings you like real integration, real-time integration to the infrastructure, the real infrastructure.
yeah.
Amazon and Google, those are the infrastructure. Microsoft, maybe, I don't know who uses Azure in that aspect, but so if you need a tool that will from day one will allow you to integrate to those capabilities, if you need Kubernetes and if you need the AI agents and if you need something more than just a front-end solution, then you need a tool like anti-gravity and Cloud Code, of course, but anti-gravity is so oriented to Google, which is makes it, in my experience, and I'm saying that humbly, because I hear the developers in the background, Cloud Code.
Yeah.
Uh,
I,
so in my experience as a non-tech user, it's amazing.
Amazing. I don't think I have another question right now. Probably will have later. And if we could, we would have been able to talk about this all day long, but we have to wrap up sometime.
yeah.
Do you have any other questions, Matt?
No, that's perfect. That last piece there really helped me out a lot because that's what I'm working through right now. I'm trying to build the end-to-end workflow between all these different tools, and so going from design to prototype to actual development. So trying to tie all that stuff together. So I think that last bit of this conversation was really helpful for me.
Amazing. Where can people reach out to you, Adil?
They can reach me through my LinkedIn. I
Mhm.
have a unique name, so it's easy to find me, Adir Traitel.
Yeah,
Can share it in the sound or in the link.
amazing.
And I have a website. They have adirtraitel.com, which they can send contact information.
Great.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much, Adir. Really appreciate you coming on the show. It's been a fascinating conversation. Yeah, thank you, Moshe. Thank you to all the listeners, and we'll talk to everybody next time.
thank you very much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you to all the listeners. We really appreciate the feedback and support. Please leave us a review to help others find the show on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you're listening to the show.